In chess, the Spanish opening is one of the best ways to play as white. So what is the Spanish? White goes e4, black goes e5. Knight f3, you attack the pawn. Knight c6, you defend it, and now bishop b5. We have the Spanish opening. Black has a few different moves here, but in this video we are going to focus on if black plays a6 to attack the bishop. I'm going to suggest you take the knight, and then black takes back, and now we castle. At the end of the video, I'm going to mention why you take the knight. There are certain variations you want to avoid. You're actually cutting out a lot of the work. First thing I want to talk about is do not fall for this opening trap. Castle is the move we are going to focus on, but there's no need to play knight takes e5. The reason is black can now play queen d4. Double attack. You attack the knight and the pawn. The knight drops back, and now queen takes pawn, check. White can't castle anymore. You can block with the queen, but it's the same problem. And black has a nice position. Maybe bishop f5. Bishop g4, black is the one who can castle, and at the moment, white's king is stuck in the middle. Let's take it from here. White is just castled, and another opening trap to bear in mind. Bishop g4, this is one common way for black to play. You pin the knight to the queen. This pin is annoying, so let's attack it with h3. h5, you actually defend the bishop. You don't need to go bishop h5 here. Black is setting up a trap with h5. I'm going to recommend you play d3. The bishop can come out, the knight can come out to d2. But what happens if you take this bishop? This is a blunder. You take back. Black will get the queen to h4, queen to h1, and it will be checkmate. If you take on e5, queen h4, and that's it. There's no good way to stop checkmate. Maybe white gives themselves some room, because if you check, the king can escape, but no. Just going back a move, you just go g3. And queen h1 is unstoppable. So do not fall for this trap. So let's go back to this point. This is going to be one of the most common responses from your opponent. They play h5, you do not take it. Now let's go d3. Let's say black puts more pressure on this knight, and black can do that with queen f6. One way you could play this so then the knights defend each other, but I'm not going to just suggest that. You go bishop e3, offering this trade. Now black can take, you can take back, and in this position queens now come off, and white is ready to just play this endgame. I mean, there's so many pieces on the board anyway. There's just so much play still left in the position. White is ready to go f4, so let's stop that with bishop d6. Knight out, and here we go. Let's stop here. So what are some plans for white? The knight can go to c4 to attack the bishop and the center. When that happens, white might be able to get f4 in. This rook can come to b1, so then you get your pawns rolling with b4, a4, even b5. This king can actually come into the middle. So let's just play a few more moves. Let's put this into action. Knight e7, rook b1, getting ready, marching your pawns. Knight g6, this is a nice plan from black. You might go knight h4 to attack the pawn. Now I know there's a knight here, but you might as well just get your king to f1. Because if this happens, you go king e2. And this knight can actually now move, because this king defends the pawn, and then we get our pawns rolling. Even b5 as well. So in this kind of position, white's play is actually on the queen side. Here is another opening trap. So we get this again. a6, we're going to take, and we are going to castle. So let's say your opponent plays bishop d6. One of the most common ways to reply. Bishop defends the pawn, and here we go again. d4, remember this move? Because you are going to play this pawn break, this move, to free your position in the Spanish exchange. Taking is a good way to play, and then we're going to play queen takes to attack the pawn. But if we go back here, f6 is actually a blunder. Now white can take, and if they take back with a pawn, it looks like black is holding the center, but you crash through. Knight takes e5. We're going to play queen h5 check and win the bishop. Back, check. and we can take. A worse mistake is if they block with the pawn, which I've seen beginners play, because now you go queen takes bishop check and you actually win the rook in the corner as well. So let's go back a few moves. In this position, take. Now you take with the queen. And black can play f6 just to block it. Time for white to get the remaining pieces out. Bishop out, knight out, and queen back to c3. So then the knight can come to c4, the knight can come to d4 as well to attack the bishops. The rook can come to the middle. Going back one move, no need to fall for this opening trap. Knight c4 actually looks pretty good because you're attacking the bishop. But this is an opening trap because black has a wonderful shot. Bishop takes, pawn check. King takes, the queens come off, and bishop takes knight. Black has won a pawn. So let's go back here. Queen c3 and knight c4. So you just step out the way, then you get the knight in to attack the bishop. Black might take the knight, take, castle, and then we have a race. White can march their pawns, black can march theirs, the knight can actually sit well in the centre as well. You might put the rook on d1. Let's go for another setup. We castle and f6 and queen f6 are good. I'm going to end the video with queen f6, so stick around for that. Let's say they play f6. If they play this move, they know what they're doing. Now, normally f6 is a really bad move because white has a bishop here, stopping black castling, but you can play f6 to defend your center. White doesn't have the bishop anymore. Same thing again. Here we go again. This is the pawn break in the Spanish exchange. Open it up for your pieces. Take. So far, it looks like white is the only one who's done anything good. White has put the knight in the center, castled. Black has just played 3 pawn moves. That's what it looks like, really. c5, let's attack the knight. Knight e2, this is the knight retreating move I'm going to suggest. So black is behind in development here, so let's get the queens off. And bishop out, and black is ready to castle. Let's say white gets the knight out, and f3, and we will take it from here. The point of f3 is so then all the pawns defend each other. This knight can hop in any time. This knight can hop into f4, maybe even to h5, attacking both these pawns. This bishop can come out to e3 to f4, and maybe later the rooks can actually double on the d file, putting pressure. So let's continue a little bit. Knight e7, knight f4, coming here to attack these two. Knight g6 is possible as well. Knight h5, putting pressure here. So black might go rook g8, and then the game goes on. Bishop here, you attack, 1, 2. I just want to say one point. If the knight comes in the middle to come into c4, you can play b3. Then you can get ready for this. Put the knight in the middle as well, and you might even go c4 to support it. Last setup I want to end on is if black plays queen f6 to defend. Here we go again. No surprise. d4. We are being consistent. Let's open up the center. Bishop g5. You can attack the queen with tempo, getting a piece out. Queen d6, and we can play knight d4. We can also play queen d4. Bishop out. Black is ready to castle. After f6, let's get the knight out. f6, drop it back, and we're going to put the rooks in the middle. We might offer a trade, and do you remember, like before, we can put our knight in the middle, come into here, f4, f5 as well, get space. Let's play a few more moves. Let's say the queens come off, and let's just stop here. White has 4 versus 3, which I'm going to talk about very soon. You've got a kingside majority, so if all the pieces come off the board, then white has a very good chance to win. This is the situation I'm talking about. If we look at this position, white has 4 versus 3. This is the kingside majority. Now, a dream situation for white would be if all the pieces came off and then we get this situation. It is still 4 versus 3, and white has a very good chance to win. You just get your pawns rolling. And even though black has 4 versus 3, there's no way for black to create a pass pawn. Because these 2 pawns are doubled, there's no way you can find a way through as long as white doesn't actually play a capture. So let me just continue with this. Let's say they go b5. You go c3, c5, b3, a5. And here we go. This is the key move. Yeah, c4. And after this, you might even tuck in a4. There's no way for black to create a pass pawn. If they defend, just don't touch a4. You don't even need that move, by the way. You can actually keep it here. Because if this happens, there's no way for black to come through. If you go here, nothing. There's no way through. As long as you do not capture. After a4, or you could keep it here, there's no way for black to come through. One final point I want to talk about is, why do we take this? Why do we go for this variation? It's because you have the chance to avoid a lot of work. Bishop back to a4. And these are the kind of positions we could get. And there are so many different ways to play. This is called the closed Spanish. And in this position, there are lots of ways to play. The knight can come here. And then black can get the center like this. Black can actually play this really cool move. This is called the Breyer, because we actually reroute the knight like this. So then black can also go for c5 later. Another option is bishop out and then rook e8. This is the Zaitsev variation. And one more option actually is in this position, castle c3, you avoid the martial attack, where black actually sacrifices the center pawn, but you get so much play. This is annoying. Queen and bishop are going to come out. And if you don't know what you're doing, then this is a tough position to face. One more thing I want to show that you are avoiding is the open Spanish. This is another line you do not have to learn. d4, b5, and then these kind of positions. So we have an open Spanish where black took in the center. You avoid all of this because after bishop b5, a6, you actually take the knight. You've basically avoided 5 different variations. I would say that's a really good reason to play the Spanish exchange. If you play a game in the Spanish, the Caro-Kann, the Sicilian, the Catalan, the London, the Queen's Gambit, put your game in the comments below. Include a link to your game on Lichess or any other chess website. It would be nice for me to analyze the subscribers' games to create a community. And then I'll see what I can do and put them into a video. By the way, if you guys want to stick around, I've got another opening video over here. How to play the Caro-Kann and how to play the Sicilian. Thanks for watching.